when you feel like you're nothing, but you wanna be something. Yeah, well, all you really need is hope. I just want you to trust me if you wanna be something.
That's right. Let's go. Yeah, when you're feeling down and you're out, like you got nothing but doubt, you're alone in the crowd, just trying to figure it out. All that is bad, and this money got you feeling left out. Listen up to me now, every word that's out of my mouth. Wake up, it's me. You're gonna follow your dreams, or are you just gonna be another cog in the scene? You feel the hope in this beat, yeah, the hope that you need to proceed and be exactly what you want it to be. I feel right, and I'm proud, hype and I'm loud. I'ma shout all about how I feel in the now. Ain't nobody ever gonna try to change me till I'm dead, pushing up daisies. I'm alone in the crowd, I won't feel down. I got hope right now, and I know I'll be found. I don't really care just what all other haters gotta say. I know everything I do is gonna make them fade away.
And when you feel like you're nothing, but you wanna be something. Yeah, well, all you really need is hope. I just want you to trust me if you wanna be something. Yeah, then all you really need is hope.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, it's what you need when you're down, need when you're out. It's what you need when you're sad and when you feel left out. You feel an energy drought and then creeps out, but with a little bit of hope you can figure it out. Keep your head high even when you're down inside. Through the pain you fight and through the painful nights, you keep striving, keep trying, keep driving, rising, keep thriving, surviving. Nothing's in your way but yourself. Don't need nobody's help. You can make it through this hell. Take it one step at a time, one step as you climb. If you fail, you'll be fine. Get back up to the grind and never lose sight of your mission. Be driven. This life is a prison if you don't have vision. You're in it to win it, so get it, don't miss it. Your chances now, so be something somehow. Don't let yourself down. That's right. Sometimes all we really need is hope.
Oh my gosh, I said hello to everybody. I did all of the things and I was muted the whole time. Thank you so much, Annie Lou, for calling it out. Good morning, Sherry. Good morning, Annie Lou. Good morning, Roberta. Happy 4 months, Rexy. Hi, DB. I can't believe I was muted. I went through so many things already. Hi, Fork You. Hi, Lise. So, what I was saying before I realized that I was muted was we will do show business day 1 and day 2 tomorrow. Simply because I just don't have enough time to really get into it today. My aunt has her first radiation treatment today, and so I will be gone most of today. But I did still want to talk about this and cover this. Hi, Aurora. How are you? I did still want to come on and talk about this. This is an 8-year-old girl who was murdered back in 1975. It went unsolved until just recently. And they have finally caught the monster who did this to her. And so we're going to look at this. We're going to talk about her for a few minutes, and we are going to take a look at the press conference, hi BC, that they just did yesterday. So there was a big search. She went missing and wasn't found for several months later. She wasn't found until October of the same year that she went missing. Let me pull this up so I don't mess up the details. So, where are we at? So this monster who did this to her was just arrested on July 17th. Okay. So she went missing on August 15th of 1975. Her body was not found until October 14th of that year. She had been missing for several months before they located her remains, and sadly, she was on her way to Bible school whenever she went missing. Um, Ironically enough, this is not the case that I was gonna tell you guys about that my aunt had told me about. This is a completely unrelated case, but it is also in Pennsylvania. And so this is an article from way back whenever she first went missing. It says more than 200 policemen, firemen, and volunteers searched a wide area in Marple Township, Delaware County, PA yesterday in an effort to find 8-year-old Gretchen Harrington. Gretchen and her daughter, Gretchen, the daughter of the Reverend and Mrs. Harold B. Harrington, so her dad was a preacher, of 27 Lawrence Road, was last seen as she left her home at 9:20 a.m. Her father is a minister of the Reformed Presbyterian Church next to their home. The child was on her way to the last day of a 2-week-long summer Bible school at the Trinity Chapel of the Christian Reformed Church on a hilltop 2 blocks away. So 2 blocks, that's all the further that she had to make it to this church where she had been attending Bible school for almost 2 weeks. Marple detective Fred Blanick said the neighbor saw a child as she walked past her home about 5 minutes after Gretchen left for Bible school. Said, since we haven't been able to find so much of a trace as her, said Police Chief Daniel Hennessy, Gretchen is a second grader at Delaware County Christian School in Newton Square. The quiet neighborhood of single homes is in the northeast section of Marple Township. Darby Creek runs parallel to Lawrence Road about 50 yards behind the Harrington home. It is the boundary line between Marple and Harvard Townships. Chief Hennessy said the police, volunteer, firemen, and canine units searched both sides of the creek, the fields, the wooded areas, and a state police helicopter hovered overhead. So this was a huge, huge search. Hey, thank you guys so much for your prayers. I just looked over. I really appreciate it, and I know she does as well. So this was a huge, huge search that was going on for her. I mean, it was a small, quiet town. It was completely unheard of for children to go missing from the neighborhoods. And so this was a huge, huge thing. Thank you, DB. So it says Reverend David G. Zandstra of the Christian Reformed Church, 134 Lawrence Road, said he first learned of Gretchen's disappearance from Mr. Harrington. Now, guys, this is the same monster that killed her, is commenting in this news article way back about her. This man murdered her, and then he called it in. He sat there and he prayed with the family. He went to different events for the family. He pretended to be some type of blessing to them and stood by them after he murdered their daughter. Could you imagine? Like, the type of monster this guy is just, it's unfathomable. The wolf in sheep's clothing, for real. So he explained that the first hour of summer school is conducted by his church, and then the children, about 60 of them, of various age groups, are sent to the Reformed Presbyterian Church for additional classes. Mr. Harrington first realized that Gretchen was missing when several of her friends came to the front door of the manse about 11 a.m. When he checked the classes, he was unable to locate Gretchen. He then phoned Mr. Zandstra, who checked with the teachers, and they reported that Gretchen had not been seen, and police were called at 11:29 a.m. He said that Gretchen's mother, Enna, had just returned from the hospital after giving birth to her 4th daughter, Jessica, And the other two girls are Zoe, age 12, and Anne, age 11. So she was one of 4 daughters. Her mom was out giving birth and had a child the same day that she was murdered. How devastating is that? How devastating. One of the happiest times of your life, and her daughter was murdered. So here's an in-color photo of her. This is the church that she had been attending. This is where they started out. They would do a big together class, and then afterwards they would go over to this church where they would separate into different groups. And this is the church that they realized that she was no longer with them, that she wasn't part of the group. So then just some photos of the area, the road that she would have had to walk down to get to the church that she was heading to. And then, of course, photos from the police search way back whenever they were looking for her. Yeah, it's awful. Absolutely awful. This guy, like this case, whenever I was reading the details of it, honest to goodness, it kind of reminded me of Delphi, because the Delphi case, Richard Allen sat there and did all these nice things for the family. He printed out the photos for the funeral for free, and he like just acted like he was the friendly CVS guy. And it's just creepy to know that he did what he did too. Okay, so let me pull up the press conference from yesterday. They give a ton more details for you guys about what is going on, and details about this man that got caught for this. And he got caught because a woman who had been one of his daughter's friends brought forward a journal from whenever she was a child, that she had written an article or written in her journal in 1975, because she had spent the night at her friend's house, this monster's daughter. And in her journal, she writes about him touching her inappropriately. And the daughter's response was like, yeah, he does that sometimes. Like, just nonchalant. And so that made police start looking into this guy more about what he could have possibly done. Yeah, he was there the whole time and trusted. Exactly. Murderers like to be involved. It's creepy, Roberta. Lisa, you remember hearing about this one? I'm just glad that they finally have someone arrested for this after all this time, even though he's an 83-year-old man. He doesn't deserve to live free anymore. He hasn't deserved it this whole time. And they're actually looking into him to see if he is connected to other unsolved disappearances now.
Good afternoon. I'm Jack Stolz. I'm the District Attorney of Delaware County. I'm joined here from my right by Deputy District Attorney Jeff Payne, who is in charge of our cold case effort, by Trooper Eugene Trey from Pennsylvania State Police, Lieutenant Sunderland, who is the commander of the media barracks of the State Police, and by the Chief of Marple Township Police Department, Brandon Grave. We're here today to announce the arrest and the charging of David Zandstra. David Zandstra murdered in 1975 an 8-year-old girl named Gretchen Harrington. David Zandstra is, ladies and gentlemen, a monster. He is every parent's worst nightmare. This is a man who is a remorseless child predator who acted as if he was a friend, a neighbor, and a man of God. And he killed this poor little girl. The story is in the criminal complaint, but let me just...
Hey, listen, can I build your Shopify store completely free?
How this all went down. In 1975, in August of 1975, Gretchen Harrington was an 8-year-old girl. She had been attending Bible camp at 2 different churches all during the course of that summer. One is at Trinity Chapel in Ranch Road in Broomall. The second is her father's church, the Reformed Presbyterian Church. David Zandstra was the reverend at the first church, the Trinity Chapel. He is a family friend of the Harrington's family because Gretchen's father was the reverend at the second church. And the way Bible camp was running that summer is they would start first at Trinity Chapel Church at about 9:30 in the morning. And then they would move over, giving rides over to the second church, the Reformed Presbyterian Church, sometime around 10 o'clock in the morning. Gretchen Harrington on August 15th decided to go to Bible camp. Her family had just had a new baby. She usually walked to the first Trinity Chapel camp with her sisters, but this morning she didn't. They didn't go to camp with her because of the new baby at home. But her father and her family encouraged her because she had had perfect attendance at these Bible camps to go by herself. And that ended up being, as we can know, a fateful decision. This happened in a matter of minutes. This poor young girl who lived on Lawrence Road, 27 Lawrence Road in Broomall, started walking towards the Trinity Chapel. She was met in a car by David Zandstra, who she knew because he was the reverend at the Bible camp she was going to, and she is the father of one of her best friends. So when he offered her a ride in his car, of course she got in the car. According to David Zanstra's own statement that he gave to our friends at the state police, he got her in the car, drove her to a secured location, asked her to take off her clothes. She refused. He then ejaculated in front of her and beat her to death with his hands. He then disposed of her body, went back to the Trinity Chapel Church, and tried to act like nothing had happened. In fact, he worked with his wife when Mr. Harrington called to find out what happened to his daughter to report this to police. This man is evil. He killed this poor 8-year-old girl he knew and who trusted him, and then he acted as if he was a family friend, not only during her burial and the period after that, but for years. And he then moved on as a reverend, both to Texas and I believe in Georgia, where he has served in that capacity. Our team here at the state police did an incredible job on this. And Lieutenant Sutherland, I can't thank you guys enough. They have a trooper who's not here today, Andy Martin, who works for Trooper Trey, who's been leading our cold case unit at the local state police, and he's been working hand in glove with Jeff Payne. They were able to develop new information. All of these cold cases, as I'm told, require some new information, a fresh set of eyes looking at the same information, and then somebody changing their story, somebody being re-interviewed, some test that didn't happen in the past. In this case, it was a cooperating witness whose identity we're going to keep confidential. She was able to provide information that she believed at the time, she's a friend of both Gretchen Harrington and the Zandstra children, that he was a potential monster. And from that, these troopers went down to Georgia, interviewed Mr. Zandstra, and he admitted to everything we have said here today. He murdered with his bare hands this poor young girl and then lied about it for 48 years. So I want to thank Pennsylvania State Police for this extraordinary work. I think this is a signal once again about how we never give up in law enforcement. Everybody in our community is important to us. When anybody is killed, it hurts all of us. We never rest. I can't thank them enough for the efforts that they put in here and have been working with Jeff, whose efforts are also deeply appreciated. I want to call on Chief Grafe, who is the Chief of Police in Marple Township, to talk a little bit about what this case means and the closure of this case to that community. But before I do that, there are also statements from the Harrington family and from the Missing and Exploited Children organization I think are very important for you and the media to also get across, if you would. The Harrington family is deeply, deeply grateful from the work of law enforcement to bring this to a close, but they obviously want to spend some time alone trying to process this all. So, Chief Grafe.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Mr. District Attorney, and thank you, Lieutenant Sunderland, troopers that handled this case. Since 1975, this has really transformed our community in Marple. If you read the book recently released about Gretchen's disappearance and death, you can see on a grassroots level how it transformed this community. It was August 1975, it was, Anytown, USA. Post that day, changed everything for the kids, for the parents, for the families, for everybody, because nobody could do anything anymore in the innocence that they used to do it before this happened. It's a sad day for sure, because I'm sad for our community in the sense that this even happened to begin with. We can't prevent evil all the time, but we can certainly hold it to account. And this proves, you know, after 48 years, it happens. Law enforcement does that. I'm sad for Gretchen. I'm sad for her family, for a life unfulfilled, deprived of that because of pure evil and depravity. But I'm also humbled and very grateful for the men standing up here, as well as the men and the women who investigated this since 1975. We had, at least on 4 occasions in Marple Township Police Department, that we had investigators looking into this case and trying to get a resolution to it. It hurts that 2 of the main officers, Lieutenant Dick Mankin and Detective Charlie Lindy, didn't live to see this day, nor did Mr. Harrington, for that matter, which is tragic in and of itself. But from that day forward, the search for Gretchen was truly a community effort. There were volunteers, you know, we had to beat back, from what I understand, you know, to help in the search for her. You know, it was a little primitive in 1975, but I do know, talking to some people who were alive at that time, you know, that it's stark in their minds of the state police helicopter that was flying overhead and people wondering what's going on. And then when they found out what happened, life changed. And it's sad, but it's reality. We all move on collectively, individually, but we continue to pray. If you're a praying person, I would say you can certainly pray for Gretchen. I don't think she needs it. She's been in God's hands. Pray for the soul of the evil man responsible for this, because he's going to need it. So thank you.
Are you sick of having issues with your webinars, wasting tons of
I just want to thank Chief Grafe, and I want to thank the troopers here today. Again, I'm with you. Gretchen is now at peace. Her perpetrator is going to be brought to justice. Just so you know, he is in Georgia fighting extradition. We are going to get a governor's warrant. We're going to bring him here to Delaware County. We're going to try him. We're going to convict him, and he's going to die in jail. And then he's going to have to find out what the God he professes to believe in holds for those who are this evil to our children. Any other questions?
The Harrington family, you said Mr. Harrington, her father has passed on. Is there any other family left? Are they in the area? Did they move out of the area?
Her mom's still alive, and her 3 sisters, I believe, are still alive in Pennsylvania.
And there's a statement from the family. So if you want to look at that, that'd be
Sure. Do you know what compelled that witness to come forward 48 years later? And a follow-up, what was the defendant's demeanor once he confessed?
As the first question, I can't really talk about anything that's beyond the criminal complaint at this time. This is still an ongoing prosecution, so I can't answer your first question. Trooper Trey, you?
Relief. He was relieved.
I'm sorry.
Trooper Trey, Eugene Trey. He was relieved, I would say. It was like a weight was lifted off his shoulders. It was extraordinary to see. It was just, he was a different person. Even when he was told that he was going to be placed in arrest that day, he was okay with it. You know, he was just resigned to, this is my fate, I guess. And I don't know if he's sorry for what he did, but like I said, he just was a weight off his shoulders for sure.
Did he expect ever being arrested for this?
I doubt it. Yeah.
Can we talk about his access to children over the years in his ministry? Obviously, this presents as a possible praying field, you know, with his access. Do we have concerns that there are other families, maybe not as great as an impact, but...
Great question, Joe. Yeah, based upon the information that was developed by the troopers, we are concerned that there may be more victims who might have been sexually assaulted by this man, this evil, evil man. So I think the trooper will suggest to you that we need to be vigilant. If anybody has any information about that, if David Zandstra ever committed an act against you, please reach out either to District Attorney Jeffrey Payne or to the Pennsylvania State Police, Trooper Trey.
Was there any indication, what was his life like now? Just an old man living in the country in Georgia? I mean, was he involved in anything? Is he active in his community?
I don't think we want to get into too much of that at this point. Again, we've got an upcoming prosecution, and we have to first get the guy up here, so we're working to do that, but I appreciate the question.
Can you speak at all to the idea that there was DNA collected from Zandstra and how that may be instrumental in helping to solve potential other cases? And is there a concern that the church knew about this? Because he moved around to potentially 6 other locations throughout his ministry. Did he become a problem? And is there a concern that this was a larger cover-up?
Well, to your first question, I can't really talk more about any DNA or anything like that at this point. Again, we've got an ongoing prosecution. The second question is always a concern, Maggie, when somebody has been in a position of power that he had, right? He was a reverend for a long time at churches all across, I think, Texas and Georgia as well after he left Pennsylvania. So again, this is potentially, there could be other victims out there. We would ask them to contact us. We want to hold him accountable for everything he did. If we can do so, and I think officials in Texas and Georgia would want to do the same thing. I don't really have any contact with the church. I mean, he hasn't been at this church in 48 years, I think. I think he left shortly after all of these things happened. I don't know about any other disciplinary record. We were just dealing with the facts that we had before us. We wanted to get him to make the confession that he did, and now we've got his confession. We want to bring him here to get justice for Gretchen.
Jack, knowing that, as Chief Gray mentioned, this case changed people's lives. I had a woman tell me that her little sister, after participating in the search, was no longer allowed to walk to school by herself.
Yeah.
It's literally shattered people's innocence and ability to.
I'm going to tell you the easiest way to make money at home.
I think it's a great point, and I do think that's what's wrong. Part of what's wrong anymore is people are terrified. I have 2 17-year-old kids, and we were afraid. We live in Havertown. We were afraid to let them out of our eyesight when they were smaller children, in part because you just don't know. And part of that is the information. We have 24-hour news cycles now. We know about every bad thing that happens, it seems like, in the world at the matter of a moment. So some of that, we have to realize that most people in this world are good. And that most pastors, especially, and people who claim to be men of God, are good people. So we don't want to over-dramatize it. But there have always been people, and there always will be people, who are this cold-hearted, remorseless, and just evil people. Thank God there's law enforcement here to hold them accountable. And Joe, however long that takes, we're going to do it, because this young lady should be alive. What happened to her is just horrendous. It has changed that community, but it's to your point. These kind of cases, when we see them, they make people afraid. And we can't be afraid of each other. We still have to be able to live in a society where we all believe that most of us are good people who want to do good things and care for each other's children. But the world isn't what it was in 1975, I can tell you that. And that's a shame. But hopefully, to answer your question, people will see that law enforcement does not rest. Pennsylvania State Police, Marple Police Department, District Attorney's Office, Delaware County, we did not rest, and we will not rest until this man is held accountable.
If I could add just one more thing real quick. So not only does it initially fracture a community, I think, in the sense that, oh my God, I can't believe it happened here, but it quickly joins them all together. And I think it really, brings everybody together over a short period of time. And then for the long term, it really cements relationships. I'm just speaking for Marple for sure. People looking out a little bit more for one another, for your neighbor, for your relative. So, I'm with the district attorney here. It feels like it's all the time, everywhere. It's not. Good still is much more prevalent than evil. We just don't hear about it, but we see it at that level. And something like this brings it out, as tragic as it is.
Chief, what's it feel like to solve a crime 48 years later?
Talk to that guy, he solved it. It's great from my standpoint, but these guys
I would echo what the chief said. It's tremendous. And Corporal Martin, Andy Martin, obviously he picked the case up, I believe, in 2017. It has been running down different leads. There was another suspect who he was able to eliminate. And then obviously he turned his focus to the Reverend. And he was tireless in the things that he did. And he brought me into the case a few months ago, and we went and spoke to Mr. Zandstra on just sort of the pretense of just a regular conversation. And, obviously we ended up where we are today, but it's a tremendous feeling. It was an incredible incredible few hours, for sure.
You had mentioned that he felt like a weight was lifted off his shoulders.
Mhm.
Did he present it to you? Did it take a lot of crying, or was he ready to give it up?
Yeah, I don't think I want to go too much into that, unfortunately.
To that question, I think that should be the motto of the state police. They're relentless in seeking justice, and they get it done.
That was the question. What does the resolution of this case say? What is the message that this gives to the community about your department?
We in law enforcement take an oath. We stand up for every single person in our community. We care passionately about everybody. And no matter how long it takes, no matter what effort it requires, we're going to get the job done. 48 years is a long time. I was 12 years old when this poor little girl, and I lived in the town next door, was killed. For us to be able to put her at peace and knowing in my faith where she is, letting her know that we cared, we never gave up, that means everything. And I think everybody in Delaware County and everybody through Pennsylvania, these state police are the best and the brightest. They do not give up, and we will never give up on anybody in our community.
Thank you.
Jeff, did you say something? Jack, do you remember this case when you were 12?
Barely remember 2 weeks ago
Okay.
anymore, Joe. I remember a little bit at the time that there was news stories and stuff. There was a lot more newspapers and things at that time. But we're all in Delaware County where everything is pretty parochial, right? And Havertown and Broomall are next to each other. But yeah, and as I came into the job and knew about the case, it really is striking. And to be able to have them solve it, this after all that time and a lot.
Was there ever the person investigation in the initial, when the crime initially occurred?
I'm sorry, so who are you?
Was obviously a bystander.
Okay.
Friend of the family, actually.
Okay. I can't tell you about what happened in 1975 during the investigation.
Okay.
No other questions? I'm going to let you guys get on to other news.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So this guy's like a straight up monster, right? Straight up monster. Right, go ahead and give it to you. Tardy. Thank you so much, by the way, Lise. I really do appreciate it. You guys have no idea how much every donation helps. Whether it's joining, whether it's gifting memberships, super chats, whatever, it really does help a lot with my ability to be able to continue to do this, especially right now where I'm going to be back and forth with my aunt and just dealing with all the additional crazy things, I guess I should say, that are happening in my life right now. And so I truly do appreciate it. So here is the family statement from Gretchen Harrington. It says, with today's announcement of an arrest, we are extremely hopeful that the person who is responsible for the heinous crime that was committed against our Gretchen will be held accountable. It's difficult to express the emotions that we are feeling as we take one step closer to justice. Gretchen was only 8 years old when she was suddenly taken away from us on her way to church on Friday, August 15th of 1975. If you met Gretchen, you were instantly her friend. She exuded kindness to all and was sweet and gentle. Even now, when people share their memories of her, the first thing they talk about is how amazing she was and still is. At just 8 years old, she had a lifelong impact on those around her. The abduction and murder of Gretchen has forever altered our family, and we miss her every single day. We are grateful for the continual pursuit of justice by law enforcement, and we want to thank Pennsylvania State Police for never stopping in their constant search for answers. We could not be here today if it was not for them. As a family, we ask for privacy at this time as we continue to digest this information. Thank you for your understanding, love, and continued support. It means the world to us. And that's from the Harrington family. You heard him say that her dad unfortunately passed away before they got this justice, but her mom is still alive. Her sisters are still alive, and they're still living in Pennsylvania. And they're just there to be able to be, be able to see this take full course now. We'll be able to see the justice come and see this monster get locked away. And all of the things. This is him. He's 83 years old now. They are looking in Texas, Pennsylvania, Georgia, the places that he lived, to be able to see if he could have potentially had other victims. What else could he have possibly done? Hey, Laurel, happy 3 months. Here's to many more, exactly. Thank you so much for being a member. Sorry, I was just looking to make sure I didn't miss anything else. And so, it's great that they finally have this justice and stuff like that, but who else did this monster hurt? And I want to say, this started out because a girl came forward with her journal about what he had done to her, whenever she was spending the night at this house, and the fact that he had touched her and hurt her in some ways. And his daughter was just like, yeah, that happens sometimes. Who else did this man harm over his lifetime? And did this all come about because of the new push for people to come forward and get justice against these monsters inside of these organizations that had hurt them as children? The new laws surrounding that? Very interesting to think about. If they wouldn't have changed the statute of limitations and things like that on this for accountability, would that girl ever have come forward? Would they ever have solved this? Nobody looked at him as if he was some creep. Nobody. Yes, Aurora, 48 years, never too late for answers. Exactly. Thank you so much for being a sleuth member for 2 months. Thank you, Laurel. I try to have a good channel. I appreciate you guys for saying that you think so. So, I don't know. They're finally getting justice. She is finally getting justice, and I'm here for it. I hope that we are able to see the trial in some way, shape, or form and follow this through to the bitter end. Whenever this guy goes to court, I mean, will he even live till trial? I don't know. But I know that he will get justice after he passes away, because you can't hurt babies like this. I truly believe you cannot be in a position of power, somebody who is supposed to be leading children to God and all of the things. Jesus is the way, the sign says. Leading children to God, and you murdered her? How many children did you hurt, sir? I don't think that God is going to take too kindly to that. Not even a little bit. Hi, crazy mama. I hope so too, BC. So many people have probably stayed quiet throughout all of this time. So many little girls that he probably hurt or harmed in some way. Maybe even his daughters. Are they going to come forward? It's really sad to think about. But keep other potential victims in your prayers, you guys, because it's a hard thing to do, to talk about abuse like that if you have hidden it for years and years and years. It's a hard thing to think about coming forward about. And they need to know. They need to know, could there be other victims? Could there be other missing children that this guy is connected to? Or unsolved murders? He had no problem whatsoever just beating her to death and leaving her to lay. Have a good day, DB. Thank you so much, Lise. Thank you, thank you. Much appreciated, honestly. But I am going to go ahead and jump off here, though, because like I said, I do have to get ready and get on the road. We have a very busy day ahead of us, but I do appreciate each and every one of you guys for being here and for hitting the like button and sharing the story out. 48 years it took to get justice, but they eventually got it, right? There is never, ever, ever give up hope that a cold case can be solved. Never. There is so much in technology now and that can help. They're running his DNA through CODIS to see if there's any hits on any other unsolved murders. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what comes of all of this. But don't ever give up hope. So I love you guys. Yes, Ringo. Bye. Have a good day, you guys. Bye.